And I thought the nail in the first one was cringe-inducing. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2021 horror thriller sequel, A Quiet Place Part 2. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. A Quiet Place Part 2 stars Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe, and was directed by John Krasinski. Set immediately after the events of the first film, it tells the story of the Abbott family as they try to survive in a world where silence is a vital necessity. When A Quiet Place was released in 2018, it felt like a breath of fresh air for the horror genre, and sounded entirely unique. It was a simple, contained story, but a very effective one that expertly blended suspense and emotion. And it was exactly the type of movie that didn't require a sequel. The abruptness of the ending certainly hinted at the possibility of one, and the world it had built was something I personally wanted to explore some more, but the story and concept seemed to have reached its logical conclusion. So the announcement of part 2 brought on mixed emotions for me. I was excited because I really loved the first movie, but I was still a little hesitant because the basic premise behind A Quiet Place is one that could get very repetitive and runs the risk of simply rehashing the first film. But luckily, that is not the case with part 2 at all. This is how a horror sequel should be done. It follows all the same rules established in the first movie, gives us some more of the characters we're already invested in, but expands on things. We still get plenty of extremely tense, quiet moments, but the world that we see in this movie is much bigger than what we saw in the first. Not only do we get to see the chaos of day one in the surprisingly action-packed opening of this film, but we also get some insight into how this new world has impacted a bunch of different people. After that stunner of an opening sequence, we pick up in the basement right where A Quiet Place Part 1 left off, and watch as the family copes with the events of the previous film, but also learns from them. This is still an exciting survival-based story, but there's a lot more to it this time. Rather than just being a tale of hiding and trying to survive, this story gradually transforms into a proactive mission of sorts, which is drastically different from the first film. Although the story's quite different, there are some aspects of the first film that are back and as good as ever. First up is the tension. Once again, this is a movie that's going to have you sitting on the edge of your seat holding your breath. It's a little more action intensive than the first, and we see the creatures a lot, but there are still plenty of moments where you're going to be sitting there ready to jump at any errant popcorn bag rustling. The pacing of the film works hand in hand with the story to expertly craft this ebb and flow of tension throughout the movie. There's also some really effective foreshadowing at points that puts you on the edge. Just like the nail in the first film, there are things shown in this one that you just know are going to be an issue later on, but remarkably, knowing about them manages to heighten the tension rather than alleviate it. Just like with the first film, the technical aspects of this movie are essential to its success, especially the sound design. That was the standout element of the first movie, and once again, it's absolutely key to effectively telling this story. Since sound is such an important component of the premise, it seems obvious that it would be important to the movie. But silence is just as important, and once again, this film does an impeccable job of finding the right balance of the two to tell its story. The smallest of sounds, like the crunching of a leaf, can be absolutely deafening, and the quietest moments can be the most intense. Regan, the daughter of the family, plays an even more integral role in the story this time around, and since she's deaf, we have a lot of sequences in the film where we're experiencing things as she does, without any sound. The score and creepy creature noises heighten tension, but it's those completely silent moments with Regan that are the scariest, because we're reliant on only what we can see in the frame. Speaking of seeing, this movie's pretty impressive on the visual front too. Everything has this slightly darkened, grungy, post-apocalyptic look to it, but the cinematography still manages to make it look beautiful. Our characters can be trekking down overgrown railroad tracks or making their way through junkyards full of scrap metal, and it still looks great. Beyond the cinematography, the editing really stood out to me this time around. Of course, the sound editing's fantastic, but I'm talking about the film editing here, the way the visuals and the scenes were actually cut together. This movie finds our characters split up from one another for large portions of the runtime, and even though they're not together, it doesn't feel like a bunch of disparate stories. And that is entirely due to the phenomenal editing that deftly cuts among our groups, who are all experiencing unique events but undertake similar actions and have matched tension. A Quiet Place is certainly best remembered for its sound-centric premise and for being a fresh horror thriller, but one of the things that helped to set it apart from other films was the emotion. Yeah, it was a horror story about creatures that would kill you if you made any noise, but it was also a story about a family dealing with grief and dealing with the traumatic situation they found themselves in. Part 2 carries on that emotional thread. Not only is the family dealing with the aftermath of the events of Part 1, but now they're facing new situations. Cillian Murphy's character was an excellent addition to the cast and added to this emotional aspect a great deal, but I would argue that the Abbott kids are the true leads of this movie and the crux of the emotional impact. They both have something to overcome, and in a sense, this movie's a bit of a coming-of-age story as these kids figure out their role in this world and kind of become full-fledged people. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number 1, once again, is the sound design. It's amazing how much sound, or the lack thereof, drives this movie. It drives the story, it drives the characters, it drives the tension, and of course, it drives the creatures. Both sound and silence are essential to this film, and the effective use of each and the balance between them really makes this movie. The quietest things, like a leaf or dripping water, are sometimes deafening, whereas the loudest things, like a creature tearing through steel, are sometimes entirely silent because of the character perspective we're following. Then you add the score into the mix with its perfectly placed low bass whomps and its tension-building use of silence, and you've got one sonically impressive film. The second pro is another technical aspect of this movie, and is the editing. Sound editing falls under that first pro, so we're talking about the film editing and visuals for this one. Throughout much of this film, we're following 3 distinct but connected storylines, since our characters are split up. But this movie does a great job of making them feel tethered, even when they're far apart. These 3 groups and their individual stories all follow the same exact ebb and flow of tension, so even though they're all experiencing slightly different things, the tone and the emotion and the tension is seamless as the film intercuts among the 3 stories. Pro number 3 has gotta be the tension. This is another holdover pro from the first film, and is something that's greatly contributed to by the 2 other pros I just talked about for this movie. The tension in this movie is just so well crafted. It definitely has this dynamic quality to it, so the film's not just in this constant state of tetanus, which could have been too much. Instead, it builds and falls throughout the film, but even the low tension moments still have you on edge due to the unpredictability of the story. It's definitely a movie that's going to have you holding your breath a lot, and much like the first film, it has the remarkable ability to keep an entire theater full of strangers silent. On the con side, my only real issue is the same problem I had with the first film, and that's the frustrating lapses in judgment that some of the characters exhibit. We are talking about a horror movie here, so this is probably closer to a nitpick than a true con, but there are just some moments and some decisions that'll have you silently yelling at the screen. Many of these moments do help to build up some tension, but some of them are just so frustrating. Again, it's not a huge issue, but these moments do stand out a bit because these characters are really smart and resourceful otherwise. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying A Quiet Place Part 2, or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give A Quiet Place Part 2 4 out of 5 paws. This is a more than worthy follow-up to the first film, delivering some more excellent sound design and tension while providing us with a very different type of story. I would recommend A Quiet Place Part 2 to fans of the first movie and anybody looking for a really good horror thriller. This film serves as a direct continuation of the original movie, so I would definitely recommend that people watch that one first to meet these characters and get a sense of the rules of the world. That said, we do get to see Day One in this movie, which could provide some helpful insight and context to people coming into this movie first. Existing fans of A Quiet Place will likely really enjoy this one, because it delivers on the things you love about the first movie without rehashing the plot. If you liked A Quiet Place Part 2, I've obviously gotta recommend the first movie, A Quiet Place. My guess is that anybody watching Part 2 has already seen Part 1, but if not, it's another really tense and emotional sound and silence-driven story that introduces not only the rules of this world, but also the Abbott family. If you were blown away by the sound design in this franchise, I'd definitely suggest Sound of Metal for another movie in which the impeccable sound design is integral to the story being told. And if you like the idea of sense-based danger in a horror movie, you might want to check out Bird Box. Rather than sound, it's sight that poses a threat, as our characters embark on a journey. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen A Quiet Place Part 2? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what's your favorite horror sequel? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or add it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.